Nothing can turn me away from a game faster than a gacha game's monetization model. But Wuthering Waves' gameplay and combat system might actually be enough for me to enjoy the upcoming gacha game, which is actually coming out in a few days. And no, this is not a sponsored video. The only gacha game I played was Genshin Impact when I tried it because of all the hype it had. I only played it for I think around 2 to 3 weeks and immediately dropped it because of how unfun the combat system was for me. Other than not being able to get the character and weapons I wanted unless I paid for a lottery ticket to hopefully get them.
How common is it to get only weapons in the character banner and not a single character? Very common.
I really didn't like the combat system of mashing buttons to dish out as much damage as you can, then run away when the enemy attacks, and go back to button mashing and rinse and repeat. Its combat system leaves a lot to be desired. And from what I've seen, people have said that it actually gets way too easy in the latter parts of the game, so there is no satisfaction in the combat. I'm not saying it's a terrible game. It must be good in other aspects like character design and story and world building because of the amount of players that it had. It was just not for me. And then a few weeks ago, I started to see this new gacha game that actually had skill expression. Wuthering Waves has perfect dodging and parrying. I had to know more about this game. And the more I looked into it, the more it grew my interest in the game. Just like how this video might be interesting enough for you to like it and subscribe. I know a lot of you are new viewers, so I would really appreciate it if you subscribe and help me reach 500 subs and possibly be YouTube partnered because we're getting close. Real close. So please, if you like it, leave a like and maybe subscribe. If you haven't watched any of the thousands of videos talking about it, basically it's an action gacha game made by Kuro games where you can form a team of 3 characters and fight monsters throughout the story. Or it's easier to say that it looks like it plays similar to Genshin, except you have 3 team members instead of 4. I know I'm gonna trigger a lot of people, but to be honest, it kinda does. No offense though. As a big fan of well-designed combat-based RPG games like the Monster Hunter games and the more recent Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, a good combat system is the easiest way to get me addicted to a game. Now, I didn't have access to any of the game's closed beta tests, but from what I've seen, the combat looks really promising. All the footage you'll see here are from other people's videos or from Wuthering Waves' official page. Okay, the biggest thing that got me interested is simply the fact that the game has perfect dodging and parrying. As soon as I found out about that shit, I decided I'm gonna have to try it out. Those mechanics were enough to tell me that there might actually be proper skill expression in this game. Actually learning each enemy's moves, timings, and not simply mashing my way through fights. Okay, I might be too easy to please with just these mechanics, but getting into Grand Blue Fantasy Relink because of its perfect dodging and blocking brought me a game with a satisfying combat system, and I'm hoping that would be the same with this one. Of course, a well-designed combat system is more than just parrying and perfect dodging. I'd still have to see and get a feel of how satisfying each character's combat is gonna be like and how the bosses and fights are designed. But from what I've seen, people are generally excited for the game because they think the combat is actually pretty good. Hell, I've seen a bunch of videos of people doing solo, hitless boss fights, and that shit gets me going. If a game is able to give proper, challenging fights, then it has a good chance of being a great action game. You already know I'm gonna try out solo boss fights when I play the game, especially with the satisfying rush I felt doing all the solo boss fights in Relink. There are a lot more things to get hyped for in this game, which I really won't go into great detail because I don't really have the knowledge to explain these. But you can look those up on YouTube. I'll just say some of the things that could actually make this game great. You have intro and outro skills, where if you switch your characters at the right time, they will trigger character-specific mechanics like buffs, so there is a deeper combat system working with team compositions and fast in-game decision-making. It also has a creature collecting sort of mechanic where you are able to capture bosses that you fight and you will actually be able to equip them and use their abilities in fights. So I'm really excited for this as a Pokemon fan. I think this part of the game is really refreshing because it's very unique to this game compared to other action games that play similar to Wuthering Waves. I'm also very hopeful for this game because even though I didn't really have any experience with any of their old games, people have high expectations of Kuro games. They developed Punishing Gray Raven, which has an insane combat system. It's very deep, it's very complex, so they have experience with skill-expressive combat gameplay. People have also mentioned how they have offered more generous gacha systems, so maybe free-to-play might actually be fun. Of course, we don't really know how the game is gonna play and how good it's actually gonna be until we try it. But thankfully, that's only gonna be a few days from now. I'm really hoping it'll live up to the expectations. So yes, this video is not sponsored by Kuro Games, but I just want to talk about it because this game looks really promising for other people, for me, and I'm just really excited for it. So if you don't know, the game is gonna come out on May 22, so it's gonna be a couple days from now. But there is gonna be a live stream on May 19th. They're probably gonna show gameplay, maybe talk about future content. So if you're interested in the game, mark down your calendars for those dates. If you did like this video, please do leave a like and let me know in the comments down below if you're gonna try out the game. And if you would want to see more content about Wuthering Waves in the future, maybe guides, solo boss fights, or discussions about the game, please let me know as well. And I would really appreciate if you subscribe because a lot of you are new viewers. I would really appreciate if you helped out with the channel because we're really close to being eligible for a YouTube partnership with 500 subscribers and just a couple more watch hours. So I really appreciate if you help me get there. That's it. Thank you so much. Peace. Bye-bye.